Today's journey moves to the heart of what keeps families stuck or sets them free after addiction: forgiveness and acceptance. These words are tossed around so often they almost lose meaning. Yet in practice, they require more courage than almost anything else. And I'll be honest, when I hear the terms forgiveness and acceptance, especially in the context of being harmed by someone I deeply care about, I have an almost visceral response. Those terms to me feel dismissive of my own experience and permissive of their destruction. Today, we're going to separate what we think they mean and how they actually look. If boundaries and self-care pave the ground, forgiveness and acceptance let you walk beyond old pain, even when everyone isn't ready to join you. Why is forgiveness so misunderstood? Well, let's start here. What actually is forgiveness? Most people think it's about excusing harm, forgetting what happened, or letting someone off the hook. In fact, evidence-based psychology defines forgiveness as an internal active process, a choice that centers your own well-being, not the other's comfort. Enright, Worthington, and Luskin are some of the leading clinical researchers, and they describe forgiveness as releasing yourself from chronic anger, bitterness, and resentment. You don't erase memories, ignore boundaries, or pretend you weren't hurt. Instead, you stop letting past events dictate your present and future emotional life. Let's imagine a family marked by betrayal, lies, and broken trust from addiction. Probably your own, and that's why you're here. Forgiveness in this context means facing the full truth of the harm, keeping necessary boundaries, and deciding that your pain no longer has to control every moment or relationship. A listener once shared with me, "I held on to anger toward my sister for years, thinking letting go would mean she'd won. When I finally started forgiving, I realized it was for me. It meant I could breathe again. It didn't mean she was off the hook for what happened." Forgiveness acknowledges wounds, honors grief, and lets you reclaim your personal peace with no strings attached. What does research actually say about forgiveness? Well, clinical studies reveal a few things about forgiveness. It's linked to lower anxiety, depression, and heart problems. Forgiveness increases satisfaction with life, family, well-being, and resilience after trauma. Now, something I want to stress here is that forgiveness does not require reconciliation. Sometimes the healthiest step is forgiveness from a distance. Practicing forgiveness is a process, often requiring months or years, multiple attempts, and support from therapy or groups. Your therapist might encourage structured approaches like writing unsent letters, journaling painful memories, and practicing deep compassion for yourself, as well as eventually the person who caused you the harm. You could even imagine a conversation with the person saying things you need to say. What's crucial here is that forgiveness is a choice. It's your choice. You can forgive even when the other never apologizes, never changes, or remains estranged. Sometimes letting go feels impossible. Families hold on to pain for a reason. Resentment and contempt often linger after years in the hero, scapegoat, lost child, or recovered person roles. It feels safer to stay angry than risk being hurt again. Resistance shows up as, "I'll never forgive. They don't deserve it." Or, "If I forgive, am I just a doormat?" I've heard people say, "I tried to stay angry. At least anger felt powerful, but after a while it only kept me locked in the past." Therapy and research agree. Resistance is normal. Often behind it are layers of grief, sadness, fear, and a desperate need for acknowledgement. Forgiveness is not saying the pain didn't matter. It's choosing not to let it shape every day forward. It's crucial to understand that forgiveness isn't the same as letting people back in to repeat harm. Boundaries are essential, and clinical recovery work teaches that sometimes family relationships remain limited, distant, or even end for everyone's safety. Forgiveness also isn't forced amends. Sometimes the person who hurt you will not apologize. Sometimes reconciliation isn't possible or desirable. And I want to stress again here that if someone has experienced physical violence or coercive control in the relationship with their addicted loved one, that forgiveness and reconciliation may be completely off the table. The relationship isn't safe and may never be. Oftentimes, abusers will blame their abuse on the substances, and this just isn't the case. While substances can disinhibit, they do not create abusers. I'll be addressing this in future episodes. Bottom line with that dynamic, get yourself safe. Forgiveness itself is an internal act. You choose to release yourself from resentment without erasing truth or dropping your boundaries. A little therapist insight here. You can forgive someone without ever speaking to them again. Forgiveness happens in your heart. Reconciliation, if it's ever possible, happens between you. Now let's move on to acceptance and look at the science of grief and reality. Acceptance is the companion of forgiveness, a way to stop fighting what cannot be changed and to find peace with what's true right now. This can mean accepting a parent, sibling, or child's choices even when they won't seek recovery or make amends. It may mean grieving lost dreams, letting go of the hope for a perfect family, or realizing you cannot force anyone to heal. Research on acceptance by Hayes, founder of the ACT model, shows increased emotional flexibility, lower stress, and better outcomes in families marked by trauma and addiction. Now, lived experience reflects this. I spent years trying to fix my brother. Acceptance doesn't mean you quit. It means you let yourself live again, even as you keep loving. Now, what about resistance to forgiveness and acceptance within the family dynamic? Not every family member welcomes forgiveness or acceptance. Some cling to bitterness out of fear or perceived loyalty. Others mistake acceptance for abandonment. The hero feels betrayed, the scapegoat fears erasure, and the lost child worries about their own invisibility. The one in recovery wonders if forgiveness means everything is forgotten. Here's how families can move forward. Communicate clearly that you're forgiving for your sake, not because you condone what happened, and allow everyone their own timing. Don't force apologies, reunions, or closure. Honor the resistance. Give space for anger, sadness, or distance. Protect boundaries, even as you attempt healing. Draw on therapy, support groups, and personal rituals for strength. Another therapist tip here: accept that some relationships may remain unresolved. Your growth does not require universal buy-in. You might be moving into one of the roles we've discussed by trying to facilitate relationship repairs between others. This just fuels that dysfunctional dynamic, and before you know it, you're all right back to the beginning. Focus on your own relationship with each of your family members and let them do the same. Resist trying to step into the role of mediator or facilitator. If they try to draw you into that, find a family therapist who can play that role and give you all space to heal. Now, how do you actively choose forgiveness and acceptance? Evidence-based practices anchor forgiveness and acceptance in real life. Journaling letters, sent or unsent, to those who hurt you. Now here, I recommend not sending until you've really been able to digest your feelings and you're comfortable and at peace with what it is you're writing to the other person. Create family or personal rituals. Name your grief out loud. Practice some reflection about how that grief is impacting you. Attend support groups, therapy, or spiritual practice that help you foster letting go. Art, movement, and self-compassion exercises allow yourself to express your pain and release it in a healthy way. Listeners have found power in diverse rituals, from memory books to forgiveness walks, solo reflection in nature, community volunteering, and meditation. The critical thing is to not rush. Each attempt is valid, and each act is a break in the path ahead. Every act of forgiveness and acceptance is also an act of grief. Families lose not just relationships, but hopes, memories, and what could have been. Let yourself feel this loss. Cry, rage, mourn as you need. Self-compassion is the antidote. Research by Kristen Neff encourages daily kindness, gentle self-talk, rest, and permission for imperfection. Her workbook for mindfulness for self-compassion has been a game changer for me, and I recommend it to everyone going through a difficult time. Reflect on this. What do I miss? What have I survived? What gentle comfort can I offer myself today? Once forgiveness and acceptance begin, relationships may change shape. Some reconnect with new boundaries, more honesty, and shared difficulty. Others remain apart but lose the sting of the old anger. All of those are okay. Families may find new meaning in rituals, traditions, or simply the relief of letting go. If reconciliation happens, let it unfold slowly, honoring all past pain, present courage, and future hope. Remember, you're allowed to choose peace even when others remain distant or resistant. As you end this episode, I want you to ask yourself, what does forgiveness mean to me today? Just today. Don't try skipping ahead forward, just today. Who have I been holding anger or pain toward, and what might it feel like to release it? Be honest here. Sometimes anger, pain, and resentment might have fueled your fire to move you forward and prevented you from going back into a toxic situation. If that's the case, you might be a little afraid to not have it around. Explore what it would feel like if you didn't need those feelings to keep yourself safe. Where can acceptance offer me more freedom and less struggle? What rituals or supports would help on this path? Remember that you're not alone. Forgiveness and acceptance are journeys, sometimes lifelong, but every small move brings more space for hope, growth, and gentle peace. Thanks for joining me as we explored the really hard work and real reward of forgiveness and acceptance. Your story matters. Your peace is possible. We'll keep walking together one step and one moment at a time.